Right, so this is my little day in the life of look at the new fragrance from Scenturion Fragrance, and it's called Legio X. And it's from Scott, who we all might know from YouTube and Instagram, who's The Scenturion. And it's his little new baby. It was released on Monday, and this is the presentation and the unboxing. And I will get into like a first impressions, day in the life of kind of step by step, kind of go through it, look at the notes, bit of the inspiration behind it. You know, my usual sort of stuff. As you can see, a nice magnetic cap there. Okay, so we'll get into the video now. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, as usual, little first impressions. I'm going to give this a day's wearing and do a little day in the life of first impressions only. As you can see it from the unboxing, give it a good spray, and I'll douse myself in it in a bit. What I get so far in the opening of this is a beautiful. You do get the tomato leaf and the mint. To me, I mean, different people notice different notes. The tomato leaf is not a note I naturally warm to, but the way it's blended in and the sweetness from the apple as well gives it a really kind of. It's green, but it's not. To me, it's not like being in a greenhouse green or being surrounded by raw kind of herbs, which is not my usual thing. And that sweetness, the apple and the mint give it this kind of fresh. It's still green, don't get me wrong, but it's not overly vegetal, I suppose, is kind of the thing, or too aromatic. It's got a lovely depth to it in this early age, but obviously I'll come back throughout the day, and I'll come back before I set off out in about 10 minutes when it's settled down a bit. So far, gorgeous stuff, Scott's there. So just a quick update before I head off out for my little journey. Probably been wearing it 45 minutes, an hour. Now you get much more of the, you start to get the leather coming through. It's not a strong leather, and it's very much blended with the other notes and the musks. Oh, gorgeous musks. As well as the tomato leaf hasn't gone, but it's there. It's kind of blended more. Getting to this stage, I didn't get much of the citrus per se, but it's kind of there as an aura. I think it adds a bit of the sweet freshness in the beginning, and the mint is there, and that would have been used by these Roman chaps as a kind of, I imagine, to keep their breath fresh, like we do now as a toothpaste kind of thing, to rub them on them to keep them fresh and smelling nice. You do get touches of vetiver, but I'll go more into it as we go out for the journey, so I will spray a bit more. Okay. Hey, you dirty Centurion pleb, what are you doing with your hands in the bushes? Can't you see we have a new land to conquer? This terrible land of Britannia, with their strange witches and their terrible food. So okay, Centurion, the question is, let's escape there. Okay? You accept the journey, sir? Yes, sir, I accept the journey. Okay, let's get forward then. Onward. Okay, so walking through the swamps now on my journey. Now you seem to get, as it's sort of probably just over an hour now, we're starting to get a lot more of that leather comes through, but it's not a noticeable leather. I wouldn't say it's noticeable. It's very smooth and clean kind of leather, and that tomato leaf and the other notes seem to linger on. Even the mint is still there in the background, creating this kind of freshness. Although to me sometimes I get a little bit of it's not licorice, but it must be the vetiver, like a dark kind of greenness. It's very, very nice. it changes, but it's not one of them that changes, you know, like boom boom boom, because it's such a rich kind of source of things. It changes. So just whilst we're out here, may as well go into a bit of kind of behind the fragrance. Obviously Scott is very into his Roman things, and Legio X was a real Legion X was a real legion, and it was controlled by the great dictator Julius Caesar. Obviously before he became a dictator, he was off on his jaunt invading countries and whatnot. And did you also know that Julius Caesar was not the emperor? He was a dictator, like I just said, and the first emperor of Rome that we recognise is Augustus, or Octavius. There's a little fact for you that you all knew and didn't care about. But yes, anyway, basically this is what kind of inspired Scott, because they were kind of a very infamous, strong, brilliant legion that managed to do things other legions hadn't done. And it's quite interesting. The whole Roman thing is quite interesting to me. Not my favourite empire, if we have such a thing, but the Roman Empire, what they managed to do is, obviously as Rome collapsed in the later stages, the Byzantine Empire was kind of born, the East Roman Empire, and that lasted a long time, so that was good thinking. And not just that, really, the church, the Catholic Church, is of course an arm of the Roman Empire, and that will probably last quite a while still. But basically, once the very clever emperor, I can't remember which one it was, adopted Christianity and changed it into a kind of Roman thing from what Christianity actually was, he managed to start something that would be spread across Europe and eventually spread across the world, with other ruthless empires going out, expanding out. Anyway, that was just a little bit of a history behind the fragrance. So now it's it's windy. It's a good couple of hours after. As you can tell, I'm knackered. It's still jumping off me. You're still surrounded by this kind of beautiful aura. It's still sweet, it's still green, still aromatic. The leather is there more. The vetiver maybe perhaps is this kind of lovely woody base, probably mixing with the sandalwood. Although I'll be honest, I don't really pick out the notes too specifically. It's kind of like just a warm, very well blended fragrance, and I suppose a lot of the things, if I didn't know they were there, I probably wouldn't be able to pick them out as such. What I will say is, it basically starts off like you're walking through maybe an apple orchard. Anyway, you're walking through an orchard, and all around you is also some tomatoes growing, and you get that real kind of lovely, realistic. It is very realistic, that's another thing to say. You get that lovely kind of botanical kind of feel, like you really are on a summer's day, just touching all the herbs and all the greenest green apples. It is, I mean, that's something else to mention. It's almost like slightly, it's not bitter, but almost like, say, a cooking apple would be. It's the kind of apple, and it goes right through it. But as it develops, it gets how do you describe it? It's like the notes are there, but they're not as intense, they're not as I suppose strongly kind of aromatic, if you like. It starts to all come together and sweeten up and become more of a, I suppose that's when you could tell the notes were separate, and then it becomes more of just a lovely, beautiful fragrance and a feeling. And actually it works really well. It's like you've stopped from sitting in this garden to now you're walking along the journey, like Scott, like the name, like the Scott thinks it kind of says. And obviously as the leather comes through and it warms up, is walking through the different scenery, the different places that these Centurions would have gone on. Anyway, I'm waffling an awful lot. I will come back with a conclusion later. No need to keep waffling on for the sake of it. Right, thanks. Okay, so kind of to conclude, hang on, I'll get this straight-ish, damn tripod. So to conclude, my journey with this fragrance today, I think it's just coming up to 8 o'clock, so it has been 8 hours. Well, 9, maybe 9, whatever, it doesn't matter, not stop watching it. It still kind of comes off the skin, you don't need to bury your nose in. And now it's got a lot more mossy green, I'd say. Definitely more of the vetiver. The apple is still there, kind of, and the tomato leaf has kind of gone away, but you're left with like a green kind of, still sweet, aromatic, slightly woodier fragrance. It is very, very nice, and yeah, if you're a performance kind of fella, then this lasts all day, I'd say. Just to get a bit more into it is obviously just look a bit more at the packaging and that. This is a rubber, and it kind of feels almost velvety, if you like. It's like a nice inlay as well. So it's good quality packaging. The little plinth it sits in is quite solid. That's nice and soft. Obviously the bottle is quite lovely, and it's quite a nice bottle. You twist that and it comes off and it goes back, so you can hold it by that. Twist. Yes, I've been doing that quite a lot. So all in all, it's quite well presented, as well as being a lovely fragrance. Every element, with it being Scott, is obviously thought about. Also, it comes packaged with this non-plastic recyclable tape, this bump that protects the fragrance is recyclable, and it's paper. So it's pretty much all, he's thought about every element and that, so there's no, this can be recycled and chucked in the recycling bin. Obviously I recycle the boxes and use them anyway, but he's them nice little touches that keep it kind of well thought out. So all in all, I'd say the fragrance itself, I really do like it, and it's a unique one, and it's unique for the summer. I mean, you expect me to say this, Scott's your friend. Well, Scott is my friend, but at the same time, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say I like something if I don't, or lie about what it smells like or anything, because ultimately I wouldn't, well, I don't think I sort of influence anyone, but I wouldn't want anyone to buy it and get something different to what they expected. Because Scott is my friend, I wouldn't want people going, well, such and such said it's like this, but it's not. And obviously it's all subjective, but I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. Like I said, with the tomato leaf is something I struggle with quite a bit. But that's not the main kind of thing of the fragrance. It is very classy, it's got a lot of depth, which is unusual for a summer fragrance, and it's unique as well, I'd say. I don't own anything like this. I've never really smelt anything like this. So thank you, Scott. This was gifted to me by Scott, just to mention that in. I wouldn't say I had a lot to do with the fragrance, but I did know about this perhaps, fairly recently, but maybe before it was announced. And yeah, it's a great fragrance, and I'm very proud to know Scott, and I wish him all the best of luck with this. Thanks folks, bye.